Arvada United Methodist Church was born almost alongside the city of Arvada itself. In 1850, Lewis Ralston came to search for gold in what is now Arvada, but he never found much. By 1858, gold seekers searching along Ralston and Clear Creeks dug canals to help their search. Then Arvada farming began. By 1870, the Colorado Central Railroad had reached this area and more people were moving here. A prominent citizen, Benjamin Franklin Wadsworth, and friend Louis Reno plotted the town of Arvada. Wadsworth also requested an official U.S. post office. He asked his wife Mary Ann to name the community where the post office would be located. Mary Ann Wadsworth chose her brother-in-law Hiram Haskins' middle name, which was Arvada? Arvada. Hiram's mother found that name in the map of their family Bible. It was an island off the coast of Syria, thought to mean something lovely and flowing. The population of Arvada was around 100 people. Wadsworth was also a major force in the founding of the Arvada Methodist Church. The first mention of religious services in Arvada was in 1866, when a Methodist minister held a religious service in the new log home of Oliver Graves. But the Arvada Church was not mentioned formally in the Methodist Conference until 1870, when Pastor Wallace was assigned to the Black Hawk Arvada charge. And so the church officially began as the Arvada Community Methodist Church. Membership? 30. The church most likely held its first services in the old Grange Hall. In 1871, Benjamin Wadsworth donated the land on what is now 57th Avenue and Webster Street in Old Town Arvada for the church to be built. A simple frame building was probably built on the property in 1877. The foundation for the larger church building was not laid until 1889 and was completed in 1892. The cost for this building? $4,000. In April 1893, Benjamin Wadsworth died at age 66. He had taken a stained glass window that was to go into the new church to Denver for repair. While driving the window back to Arvada, a dog caused the horse pulling his wagon to rear. Wadsworth was thrown out and died. Sadly, he did not live to ever attend a service in the church built on the land he donated. Services began in 1893. Eventually, state-of-the-art lights went in. The Ladies' Aid Society donated a communion set. And then in 1905, a steeple and bell tower were added to this building. And in 1908, the church bought and installed its first piano. In the early 1920s, the church tore down its original church building, laid a foundation, and built a gymnasium in the basement. The church began holding services in the gymnasium and used it as a community hall in 1923. Construction on the actual building did not begin until 1930. The full completed building was dedicated in June 1931. During the Great Depression, the congregation and ministers fought for 6 long years to save the church from financial disaster. The June 1932 Treasurer's Report showed a balance of $3.35. The church board voted to turn off the gas. A year later, the church balance was $11.42, and by August 1933, the church's debt had grown to almost $600. The church was repeatedly threatened with foreclosure. The Ladies' Aid Society took on the church's janitorial duties. The church began charging $5 fee to outside groups to use the building, and it sold advertising space in the church bulletin. Even the city of Arvada helped by providing water to the church for free. By the mid-30s, the church board contacted 80 of its 200 members who had not yet paid their pledges to pay up. And the pastor pleaded for every church family to pledge at least 10 cents a week in the future. By 1938, the worst was over. The church board felt confident enough to authorize the purchase of a mop and bucket for janitorial work. By March 1947, the church was able to burn the mortgage. Membership continued to grow. Eventually, the church added a new educational wing that was completed in November 1955. Church membership had grown to 779. Reverend Earl Hanna, AUMC's longest-serving pastor, began his pastorate in June 1955. By 1957, membership was approaching 1,000. The church board began discussing a plan to expand. After 18 months of careful study and discussion, the church purchased 5 1/2 acres of land at our current location in August 1958. The building campaign was begun in May 1959. By that time, membership was over 1,100. It increased to 1,350 members when the groundbreaking ceremony was held in May 1962. Life as Church on the Hill began on May 26, 1963. The cost of this building, $465,000. By 1967, AUMC was the 6th largest church in a 3-state region with a membership of 2,061. After its 100th anniversary in 1970, the church added the chapel in 1971. In 1972, Reverend Hanna began a radio ministry called An Endless Search, a 30-minute program airing on Sunday mornings.
Welcome to An Endless Search, a discussion of contemporary religious issues related to the challenges we face in daily life. An Endless Search is sponsored by the Rocky Mountain Rabbinical Council and the Colorado Council of Churches. This is Earl Hanna, moderator, welcoming our guest, Dr. Hassan Haskari, founder and director of the Interreligious Foundation and visiting professor at the Iliff School of Theology.
It was successful so that in July 1974, AM radio station KAAT also began airing the 1030 AUMC worship service. This continued through 1989 when Reverend Hanna retired after 34 distinguished years of service at AUMC. These radio programs helped to increase membership. While Reverend Hanna was at AUMC, membership more than doubled. In 1973, the United Methodist Women became the official women's mission organization of the United Methodist Church. Of course, the women of AUMC had always been active since the Ladies' Aid Society was formed in 1923. Other women's groups also helped the church throughout the years. These women raised enough money to buy a parsonage in 1927. They continued to raise money during the leanest times. In recent years, the Arvada UMW raised $10,000 for the new kitchen center. Plus, it donates to local and global mission causes. The Arvada UMW and their foremothers have always supported the church's growth. More recently, they have been steadfast advocates for human rights and social justice, helping with housing, clothing needs, education, medical care, fighting the injustices of poverty, imprisonment, immigration, domestic violence, and human trafficking. In 1998, a new fellowship center was completed, adding a new large kitchen and a current library. It also increased the fellowship space with stage and a basketball court. In 2000, Arvada United Methodist Church officially became a reconciling church. This means everyone, yes, everyone, is welcome into the church as members. In 2005, the church added an labyrinth on the west lawn based on the one found at the famous Chartres Cathedral in France. Church and community members use it as a place of solitude and contemplation. In 2013, after 50 years on the Hill, AUMC celebrated this milestone. It opened the time capsule that had been buried in 1963. A year later, the church added solar panels on its roof, demonstrating its commitment to become a green church. Church membership around the country declined sharply, starting in the 1970s. Arvada UMC was no different, although it remained one of the larger Methodist churches in the Denver metro area. AUMC has continued its long tradition of providing Sunday school, adult education classes, and vacation church school. The children also work on special mission and outreach projects. Similarly, youth groups in the church have remained active through AUMC's history. Youth group has always been a place for young people to raise their questions about faith, to perform service projects, and to go on mission trips. Oh, certainly to have fun and to take confirmation classes. That allows them to become full members of the church. Clearly, music has been a vital part of AUMC life, though strangely, there are few records about this. Currently, AUMC has 5 singing choirs and 3 bell choirs. The bells came in 1990 when Laura Jean Carver bought a set of bells for the church. Gay Ostrander later donated a set of hand chimes as well. The church also has an instrumental music ensemble and a holiday orchestra. In more recent years, Director of Music and Arts Tim Kennedy has started a concert series, also a theater troupe, a summer theater, and an arts camp for children. In 2015, the church committed to take on a major renovation of the church entrance, its narthex and chancel area, and make all bathrooms of the church accessible. These renovations were completed in April 2016 at a cost of $1.5 million. But the entire debt was paid off by July 2020. Arvada UMC showed its faithfulness to mission and outreach by donating $130,000 of the money raised. The largest portion, $85,000, purchased an entire Habitat for Humanity house for the Duran family of 5. An additional $50,000 went to 8 other deserving recipients. AUMC continues a relationship with its previous church building in Old Town by helping the rising church which now occupies it. AUMC also hosts families experiencing homelessness. It shelters at night single and transgender women. The church provides Thanksgiving boxes and gift cards for Christmas presents and food to almost 50 families. It holds an alternative gift market and sponsors orphans living in Kenya. Arvada UMC had the honor to host the Reverend Karen Olivito's installation as bishop in 2016. AUMC welcomes numerous recovery, health, community, and civic groups to meet in the church. It is a base for Meals on Wheels 5 days a week. It offers English as a second language also. Throughout its 150 years, Arvada United Methodist Church has seen 73 different pastors at its pulpit and countless staff people who serve the church to carry on its vibrant mission. Arvada UMC continues to be a resilient and faithful congregation. This church on the hill welcomes everyone and affirms the worth of every person because they are precious. Members of the church, from those who have been here for over 60 years to those who are joining in 2020, strive to maintain our inclusive, diverse, and reconciling community. AUMC is a place where we come to worship, to learn about our faith, to care for each other and our church family. Here's a special place to take the church outside of its building to live out the unfailing love of Jesus Christ for neighbors down the street and in other continents. May our work continue. Happy 150th anniversary